Before we begin, thank you very much to Slick Rick. I know you. For joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for helping to keep the channel alive and to keep the daily content coming. I can do this for as long as you guys are willing to support me to do this. And speaking of, tomorrow I will be completely caught up on shoutouts, so thank you very much. You made it over 7 months of constant shoutouts without letting me do my normal intro. You made it a long, long way. You deserve a applause for making it that far. And if anyone wants to dispute that, or anyone wants to prevent that from happening, that's your cue. Because I can't be cute about it anymore. Suffice to say, yes, thank you very much for everything you guys do to make me able to do this. So I haven't tier listed in a hot minute, so we are going to be doing this. And we're going to be doing something a little bit more simple this time. We're going to be going to ranking Starscreams, but instead of doing it by character or anything, we're just going to judge Starscream by his appearance. I know you're not supposed to, but let's be honest, it's Starscream. He would want you to. So we're going to tier list Starscream's designs over the years, and I'm going to try and keep it to the major Starscream designs, and I don't necessarily mean major character, I mean major visual change. Because let's be honest, most Starscreams just kind of look like variations on G1 Starscream. If they do significant color changes or significant design changes, then they made it to the list. And with that, we've got 25 different designs of Starscream to go through here. And I threw in a few little oddballs here that are so different than the norm, I just had to throw them in. And we start, of course, with the original, the classic, the very first Starscream. And it is a solid design. Using the cockpit for the chest and the intakes kind of works. The shoulder pylons give him a nice, interesting silhouette. The wings are classic. Yeah, nothing really bad or good to say about this one. I mean, I feel like because it's the first design, it's middle of the road, it should be right in the middle of the tier list, but it is a good design. And even though he's repainted a few times, definitely stood out amongst the other Decepticons, so we're going to put him premium. I think it's a very good design, but I think we've gone better. I think we've done better. So, where else does that leave us? How do we feel about Beast Wars 2 Starscream? Now, originally this was designed as the very first version of this toy was named Starscream in the very, very limitedly released Generation 2 2-pack with Megatron. But those two designs really don't suit Starscream. Well, that one kind of suits Starscream, but the Megatron, no. So whether or not this is really supposed to be Starscream, or if it was just a random jet character that was getting a name dump, we don't know. Suffice to say, some of the classic elements are there. A lot of them aren't. The color scheme's kind of muted. It's kind of plain. I don't really mind I don't think I mind the gigantic cannons rather than the arm guns. It's a different change to him, but it definitely gives him a different feel. But overall, I'm not really in love with this one. I feel like compared to a lot of Starscreams, it just looks kind of plain. And I don't mean that because he's a jet. I'm not making a pun. I just think that visually, he's not very striking. You know, he definitely does not stand out, and he's definitely not as flashy as Starscream usually is. And because his aesthetic is still just that kind of standard stock, like boxy transformer, there's nothing making up for that to really give it more character. So he just kind of comes off as just a plain standard Decepticon. Not standard in any way. How do we feel about the Trans-Tech Starscream? Now this is a revision of the Trans-Tech Starscream. This is technically the Transcendent Technomorph Starscream. That's mostly because the proper one doesn't really have very good imagery. There's only one concept art and some extremely fuzzy pictures of the prototype that wasn't even painted. So we're going with this one to kind of represent the Trans-Tech look. I do like the idea of turning his wings into some big regal cape. That absolutely seems like Starscream. The high collar seems like something like a more gaudy, more like upper class Starscream would actually wear. I don't really mind the arm blades either. It is another one that's weird to call Starscream. I don't mind the design. I do think it might be a little bit too far gone. Maybe a little bit too far departed from the standard design, but it's not bad. It's not a bad design, but I do think it's kind of run-of-the-mill. All right. Okay, so Starscream in IDW had something of a body dysphoria thing. He just did not like his body ever. So he made a lot of changes over the years. This is one of the early Starscreams from IDW. And I'll be honest, I've always disliked early IDW Starscream's look. I really did. For starters, they didn't really take advantage of the media, so he kind of just looks like a toy. There's elements to him. There's a few different times where E.J. Sue actually drew Starscream with like his tail fins as his feet, and it just kind of looked ugly. For this design itself, I don't like. For starters, on a G1-ish Starscream, I'm missing the blue, which I think would have given a pop to off-white that it's kind of desperately needed here, and I don't like the downswept wings because I think it just kind of makes his silhouette look like it's kind of drooping. You know, it doesn't suit him. It doesn't suit him. Like, it should be high up. It should be like, you know, like dragon wings coming off his back or something. So, never really been a big fan of the early IDW style of Starscream. So, I'm going to put him bargain. I do think it's a little bit better than Beast Wars 2, but it's still not the best. Now, this is a Starscream by happenstance. How about Machine Wars Starscream? Now, we talked about Machine Wars very recently, but the Starscream design is not bad. Again, we are getting into something of a more generic color scheme. It's blacks, it's grays. You know, there's a little hit of blue. There's a little hit of neon green. It's not really standing out a lot, though. It's okay. What counters it is the fact that the design is huge and it looks appropriately incredibly powerful. Of course it is. It's Skyquake. But as a Starscream, I think it hits a little bit better, if only because it's, you know, as opposed to like the Beast Wars 2, it's doing something different to a standard Starscream design. Like, it's boasting how big and just like oomphy this Starscream is. So I do like it better. I don't think I like it as much as the Trans-Tech design, but I definitely think it's better than the bargain bin. So we're gonna keep it there. Yeah, I think that's okay. Is there any doubt movie Starscream just goes in the bin? Like, not even bin. Goes to flea market. I'm not even wasting time. It's the giant Dorito. It looks absolutely nothing like Starscream. It doesn't suit his character. It doesn't suit his personality. It doesn't suit anything. And it's just not the kind of design I would think of a flying Transformer with, because he just looks so big and bulky and over encumbered. I don't know. It hits wrong on every note. And it's just like, it's just not Starscream. You know, it just might as well be a different character completely. All right. Late IDW Starscream. Now, this is essentially, for the sake of argument, this is the Evergreen design with some extra tech greeble. So we're not going to do the Evergreen design itself. We're just going to go with this one. I'm going to say I generally like it. I actually like it better than the Evergreen because the Evergreen adds some really like long curves to design elements of Starscream, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right to mixing in with like the traditional boxy elements. But I do like this design that sharpens the edges, gives it more of a squared off look. And yeah, like overall, like it's just like a nice upscale of the original Starscream design. In this sense, yeah, I think I would put it above the original Starscream. I think it looks a little more there. I think it looks more powerful. I think it looks more menacing. I think it looks more of the type of character that he was presenting at the time, which was, you know, this point, the former ruler of Cybertron. So overall, I do like it as a modernized Starscream. Yeah, like it quite a bit. Next up, RID 2015 Starscream, which is a very big departure from the one that he's actually supposed to be based on. Again, we've got a modern Starscream. He's got the downsloped wings. The difference here is he's making up with it with the shoulder pauldrons, which is some kind of homage to his coronation armor from the '86 movie. He's incorporating more dark gray elements in with the light gray, gives him a little bit more visual pop and a little bit more of a dynamic look. I like the red lines going through him. It's a really, really nice Starscream buried in a show that did really good design work, but not great writing work to back it up. But as a Starscream, I do think it looks really good. I do think it looks really good. Like, I'm inclined to put it somewhere up in the premium. You know, I kind of like, so like when the wings are downsloped, I don't think it works. When the wings are downsloped with those shoulder pauldrons kind of creating an X silhouette, that I think looks cool. You know, so a lot of personal preference, keep in mind. We're doing this based purely on personal preference because it's all I have to work with. All right. How about Hearts of Steel Starscream? All right, so this is like the old school, the old time. Like, this was supposed to be basically a very futuristic or like very high tech version of the old biplane. You know, it's an out there design. It's a very out there design, as a lot of Hearts of Steel was. So it's okay. It's okay. I do think it goes a little too hard. I mean, visually, yeah, it's striking, but at the same time, I don't think he needs all the bat wings. I don't understand why he's got so many bat wings going on. I know that, like, the silhouette of a lot of those biplane wings actually do kind of have that, but not to this extreme. And I don't think they need to detail so much on him. The hip skirts coming off his feet up to his knees, like the heavy gold details all over him. Like, I just feel like this Starscream's trying too hard, and it's getting a little bit too complicated for my tastes. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to bump him down. And I don't think overall, I think it's just it's doing too much. It's trying to do too much, and none of it's really coming off the way I think they really should have. So down you go. We're going to talk the Action Master, because while it is just another G1 Starscream, it is a very different style of G1 Starscream. It's actually based on the Pretender Starscream's inner robot, which, due to the molding and due to budget limitations, they were very picky about what got colored, so a lot of things got colored wrong. So, for instance, blue arms, black cockpit, gray helmet with black face. It's a very different look for Starscream. He's also missing his wings. He's missing his traditional null rays. It gives it a different feel. I mean, and in a weird sense, I don't really mind this look. I feel like there should be some kind of place for it in Starscream mythos. But overall, it's not great, is it? It's not great. I'm missing a lot. I think the red is getting diminished. I'm missing the yellow to kind of like give him a pop on his chest. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like there could be something in there. I like it okay, but I don't think it's like really like, it's not sparking joy. Let's put it that way. Who's next? Alternity. This is one of those I threw in because it's just such an out there idea. Here's a car that is trying to pull off a classic Starscream silhouette. Alternity is another situation where they're just going so hard on the details, and overall, Alternity feels like a very over-designed set. It feels like a very over-designed set of characters, which is the idea. They're supposed to be omnipotent transformers, godlike even. So Alternity characters can get away with something like this. I kind of like it. It's over detailed, but it's not throwing a whole bunch of color in there in order to do it. I'm missing some classic details, but overall, it's not terrible. I think he goes somewhere here, somewhere around there, kind of like right in the middle of the pack. I do think it's pretty inspired to actually be able to turn a car into something that looks like the original Starscream. I think that's actually a pretty good attempt. All right. We are at Armada Starscream. This was the first major redesign of the original Starscream, because, outside of, Generation 2 repaints that really weren't trying to reimagine the original toy. No, this one is literally trying to do Starscream again. And while there are some weird elements to the design, I'm not big on the tail fins hanging off the knees. They're at least better placed than on the feet. But overall, the design is really, really good. You know, I like turning the big null rays from the arm cannons into the big gigantic shoulder cannons. I think really worked for the time, and it did free up some of him to create that swordsman aspect that Unicron Trilogy Starscream had, that I thought really worked well for him. I think it made him stand out a little bit amongst all of the blaster transformers. And yeah, like overall, it just balances really, really nice. Like it is a Starscream that ditches the blue, but it balances out a lot better. It helps there's a lot more red to his design. In a weird way, because you're ditching the blue, you're actually separating him out from Optimus Prime a little bit, which I think works really, really well. I think everyone really liked this Starscream design. I think I still really like the Starscream design. I think I'm putting it at the top. And it's not because I think he's one of the best Starscreams of all time. I just genuinely think they nailed the look on the update. And the reshuffled elements to him, I think, worked out really well. Overall, yeah. Alright, Cyberverse Starscream, the Iron Butterfly of Starscreams. This one is a little bit weird. Again, it is very G1-centric. But it is simplified. I do like the big boxier shoulder guards, the big shoulder pauldrons, because they actually do give him a little bit more of a powerful look to him. I'm still not sure how I feel about null rays turned into forearm cannons instead of off the upper arm. I definitely think that works better in motion. It makes more sense to do it that way if we're talking from a logical standpoint, but screw logic, it doesn't look as cool. It's down to like the wing shape for me, and the wing shape for me just, I don't know. I think they just look a little bit too thick. They look a little bit too puffy. Like I said, kind of has like a butterfly look to his wings, which is a little bit weird. But you know what? It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. I definitely think I like the, I definitely know I like the RID 2015 better. So I'm going to drop him at the top of the retail release. He's okay. He does feel like a more standardized Starscream. I don't know what is up with the Pretender Starscream. I really do not. So, on the other Classics Pretenders, you can actually kind of see some logical kind of like some kind of logical flow from the robot that's inside and the shell that is on the outside. You know, it looks like the characters go together. The colors match. The tones of the different characters kind of match. I don't see this as Starscream. I can't. Aside from the colors being completely wrong, I just don't see Starscream as just like all spiked Viking kind of appearance. It just doesn't suit him. It just doesn't feel right. I'm not sure why they went this way, other than, you know, they were more monstrous than the Autobots. You know, like the Decepticon Pretenders were. So it feels like he's trying to split the difference between them, and it just does not work. You go down there with the movie Starscream. We don't like you. You stinky. You stinky. Shattered Glass. And I specifically chose the Siege repaint of this one for this because, well, honestly, like, it's unfortunately, it's like the better known Shattered Glass at this point because the toy is on a much wider, like, release scale. But I do feel like the previous one does it better. But we got to talk about that design differently, right? We got to talk about that in a different incarnation. But how do we feel about putting Jetfire's colors on a Starscream toy? I mean, they are definitely counterparts to each other in the original cartoon, the original fiction. It is unfortunate they don't, well, you can't really do that. It's like, it's interesting to me. It's interesting. Starscream's traditional color scheme is off-white, red, and blue. Here it is white, red, and black. So you're kind of going back to like Armada Starscream and color scheme, but it is giving him a very different feel, isn't it? It does not feel like your typical Starscream. It's interesting. It's weird. It's weird that it works because it feels like it should be too close to his normal one, but it kind of works. Cleverness of Shattered Glass. I think I like it enough to put it kind of low premium. You know, I think somewhere around there, I think. You know, I definitely think it could be better. You know, and then, like I said, I think the first mold they used Shattered Glass Starscream for does carry that color scheme better. But it's not bad. It's not bad. I threw this one in here for fun because I knew that if we talked about the first movie Starscream, we talk about movie Starscream, then yeah, like it's gonna go into the flea market immediately because it's a terrible design, even departed from Starscream. But however, there's something interesting about the Protoform Starscream toy. Number one, I'll admit, I kind of like the bronze. I kind of like the bronze. I think, yeah, like as a Decepticon Protoform, it's kind of makes sense to be a different color than the standard silver. I do like that it incorporates some of the classic elements. You've got the intakes on the chest. You've got like little winglets that kind of do his shoulder guard thing. You know, and overall, I like it better. I think if this design philosophy was closer to the eventual movie design, I'd be a little bit happier about it. You know, that said, it still doesn't strike very Starscream, does it? It is, even by, normal standards, it's a little plain looking. There's no real difference in color hues. There's a few paint job apps on there to kind of shake it up, but otherwise, no. So while I like it better, I can't put it too high. Right? So that's how it goes. Now, we gotta talk my boy. Now, if you know me, you know exactly what's going to happen here. There's no question. Cybertron Starscream's going in the Holy Grail. You can't stop me. It's my list. What are you going to do? I love this Starscream design. I absolutely love it. I think it's such a perfect blend between the speedy look that Starscream is supposed to traditionally have and just being a powerful figure. Adding the shoulders, like the silhouette of the wings to his shoulders, gives him this super wide, strong appearance. Gives him plenty of room for the weaponry that makes him look really cool. And just overall, like the color blend on him, I think it all works so well. I love this design. I've spoken about it so many times. I'm going to speak about it again every chance I get. I feel like it's the best we ever got for Starscream. So, no doubt in my mind. How do we feel about animated Starscream? Because I feel like I don't want to disparage Derek Wyatt in any way. I don't feel like this is one of the stronger designs for animated because I don't think it strayed far enough, oddly enough. I do like a lot of the changes animated made to a lot of the characters, but Starscream is kept fairly traditional. The head design is similar. He does have the forearm gun thing going. That's kind of where it started. And the color placements are mostly the same as usual. The colored shoulder pauldrons, that adds a little bit more of a touch to him. Gives it more of like a full chest and body armor look to his red. But I don't think it quite like hits me the way a lot of other animated designs do. Blitzwing is a really big departure. Swindle's a huge departure. Ratchet's a departure. A lot of these big shifts that actually create these really cool looking alternate takes. And I feel like Starscream's just like a little on the duller side compared to them. And that's also kind of good, kind of goes for the color scheme. It does, again, separate him from Optimus Prime, which I think is a good thing. It does create a more villainous color. And it's not that I dislike the design. In fact, no. I'd probably put it low-end premium. But it is a little bit it's a little bit less than some of the other redesigns that Derek created. So I'm a little like two-minded about it. But I will still admit it's still a nice looking Starscream. So I'm not going to get down on it too much. Alright, our most recent one, the Earthspark Starscream. And if we're being completely honest and objective here, this one does a lot of things that I find really weird. I'm not a fan of the proportions. Like this very small body on very heavy legs and forearms. It looks a little bit odd. I'm not really a big fan of like the how large the head is on the body. The wing silhouette's a little weird. What's really weird to me is the beard. I don't know why this Starscream suddenly had to have one of those like multi-pointed like evil beards, but he does, and it's odd. I'm not sure how I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think it suits him. Character-wise, I think they're doing a brilliant thing with him. If you haven't seen Earthspark, yeah, I'm really looking forward to what they do with him in Season 2. But overall design, I really think this is one of the lesser ones. I really do. It might be because they prioritize the designs on Nova Scream and Skywarp and the feminine designs, and they're trying to keep Starscream similar to them. But it definitely feels like, there's something missing there. It definitely doesn't feel right. Moving on, we have Prime Starscream. Now again, this is where the color scheme shifts dramatically, so he's far darker. He gets by on just little accents of color. Otherwise, he has a very stark gray color scheme. That said, though, unlike the previous attempts at creating this dark color scheme for Starscream, this one comes with a character change that actually makes it work, and overall a design change that makes it work better. He's very thin and gangly. He's kind of got this like there's a creepiness to this Starscream. He comes across just a little bit Slender Man, just a little bit. And I think it makes him that much more intimidating. I think if he had the brighter color scheme, if the traditional off-white and red, I don't think this Starscream would hit as hard. As it is, I do think it is a fantastic design. I think it is an incredibly good-looking Starscream. Just because, again, it's so different than normal, and it strikes so well for presenting him as a fresh take on the character. Definitely going up to the top. Also, Starscream that can rock high heels. Respect. Energon. This was so interesting. So, at the time when this came out, everyone went nuts over this Starscream because the look is so unique. And to this day, it is unique. If you haven't taken a good look at the toy, one side of the toy is done in translucent plastic with painted over details to make it go from solid to broken up. And it was their way of showing a ghost Starscream without making a completely translucent toy. And it looks brilliant. I mean, the visual on it is striking, and it's a very rare asymmetrical design for Transformers that you probably wouldn't see them do again, not in sculpt at least. It is kind of like a darker tone standard Starscream overall. It kind of hits the same as Beast Wars 2 Starscream because they share a transformation scheme. But the overall, just the uniqueness of it and the way they conveyed Ghost Starscream, I think works so much better than just making him translucent plastic. I think he goes really high. I don't want to put him Holy Grail, but he is a really good take on Starscream, and a really clever one all the way around. Here's one you don't see much of, but this was kind of the crowning moment for Starscream in IDW. So the reason for his constant body changing in real world is Hasbro had a toy to sell. But in fiction, it's because Starscream was just never happy with how he looked. He wanted to constantly change because he was never comfortable in his own body. That's because he's cold constructed, and he never had a body forged for him that was specifically supposed to be him. This was Windblade in his mindscape, showing him what he was always supposed to look like. And I gotta tell you, I mean, that's not very Starscream, but I'm gonna tell you, I love this design. I think it looks amazing. It's interesting to me because there's a little bit of traditional Starscream in there. You can tell where IDW Starscream was trying to emulate this body and trying to figure out, this is what I was supposed to be. But you can tell why he was never quite satisfied, because none of it was ever quite right. I would love if someone would, third party, throw something together, make a toy of this. I would buy this in a heartbeat. It's a very limited use of Starscream, but it's a very poignant one. And I love the look. I absolutely love how it looks. Going up to the top, no doubt. How about War for Cybertron Starscream? This one always felt a little off to me. So, something to important note here. The War Within design, which was very, advanced version of the Tetrajet, was one I almost put on this list, but I felt it was too close to Cybertron Starscream and this Starscream. They're both kind of based on the War Within version. So I'm kind of splitting the difference by going over these two instead of just going over War Within. And for me, this one has always felt a little off. Like, he feels a little bit tubby. Not that I have any room to judge him on that one. But for a sleek flyer, he just doesn't feel like the body type for it. He always just felt too bulky. He always just kind of felt too... like, there's almost a little bit of like a lumbering to the way the Starscream is designed that I never quite thought worked. So, I've never been big on this one. I've never been big. It's okay, but it just feels off. You know, there's just a lot of it that just feels off. And I'm not really big on the jet mode either. Again, it just kind of feels too heavy. You know, I'm not sure if that's just me. Well, of course it's just me. It's my opinion, but, you know. How about the movie Bumblebee Starscream? The movie designs for a lot of the classic characters had an interesting take to them. There are a lot of wide hips. It's a lot of wide hip designs. I'm not terribly big on the take on Starscream. Again, he looks very bulky. He looks very heavy. He doesn't strike me as like sleek flyer. He just kind of strikes me as I've got a little bit too much junk going on, which is not really what I was hoping for out of my Starscreams, but, you know, it is what it is. It's okay. It's okay, but I'm not a big fan on it. So I think I put him right back. I put him in the same spot I think I put him right back in the same spot. And that leaves us one to go, and that is the Masterpiece movie Starscream. This one, again, I'm kind of okay on. I'm actually surprised that the original Masterpiece movie. No, Masterpiece G1 Starscream. I'm kind of surprised no modern Starscream has replicated this paint job, because it's what makes everyone talk about him so much. Because it's supposed to be, quote, a more realistic paint job for the jet mode. The original designer for this toy really wanted to emphasize the accuracy of the jet, which is why we got him to look so unlike Starscream. And then that designer we never heard from again. Shoo, you're done. You're done. Go away. It does make a lot of design sacrifices. There's weird kibble in weird spots for the sake of the jet mode accuracy. The hips being like those gigantic pieces hanging off his hips is a big one. It does strike a unique Starscream, though, even though it's based on G1. Now, I wouldn't mind the color scheme coming back. I'm not terribly big on the color scheme, but it's at least interesting. I'm really not big on the extra kibble that this one created. I know some people like it, you know, like especially the parts that hang off of his skirts, kind of looking like samurai armor or like sheaths to a sword. He's not carrying swords. He's just got big things hanging off his hips. So I'm just going to go and put him somewhere like bottom of retail release. I think the color scheme has merit on the right Starscream. I could see it working. You know, it's kind of similar to the colors that animated Starscream had. But overall, meh. And that is going to do it for our list of all of the major Starscream designs, or at least the ones that I felt like covering in this list. So, let me know in the comments section how much yours deserve to be much higher on the list. Please tell me, how much I screwed up, because I know my opinion never matches everyone's. So, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed, though, and I will see you next time.
I'm like, I think you guys got this. I will back away, and I will see you all later.
You've got this handled.
Alafi's like, really? You're not gonna help me? Like, it's fine now.
It's like these disgusting creatures breathing down my neck, and you're all just like, I believe in you. You got this.
All right, you seem to have this. 5 minutes.